I'm not too hopeful because Trump's all about now just dismantling the federal government, right? So he may spend money here and there, but that's where it is. So it's going to be incumbent upon the banks to open the lending. Lending won't come unless they lower interest rate. So you have to see that first. So all bounces are going to be short-lived until the end of March, Dave.
And good afternoon, everyone. Wow, if you haven't seen the news, we were expecting a black swan or maybe even a pond full of black swans to start the year. And what did we get? A black panda. So Bob Kudla's here with me today, tradelikeagenius.com or tradewith2030.com. We're going to run through all these events. Bob wants to explain DeepSeek, what it means, what the technology's done, how things have leapfrogged ahead, which markets are going to be smashed, which ones are going to benefit from this. And since it is the year of the snake, the wood snake in Asia, Happy New Year to everybody on the lunar side of things, Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year. Twisty and curvy is what is predicted for the snake year. Every year it is. It's topsy-turvy because snakes, think of the action of a snake. So anyway, Bob, I appreciate you joining me. Floor's yours.
Yeah, so it's funny because I was telling people for the last 3 months that nvidia was not moving up on any and all good news. And about a week and a half ago, there is the news came out where Trump, the investment of $600 billion into the AI sphere / crypto sphere, / nuclear mini reactor sphere, and everything got hyped up. But nuclear went nuclear. I mean, there was some great trades there, but nvidia did not move up. And so I said, look, it's not moving up on good news. If you're a trader, if things don't move on good news, meaning that all the good news is already in that name, and we rapidly started to get short nvidia. And I'll tell you how we did it is that you can get it with NVDS, but also there's these yield max products that you can create what's called short strangles, where you get paid high dividends by expecting a fall in the stock, and fall indeed. But the crash in the market, or the sell-off in the market today, really has very, very little to do with DeepSeek, but it was an excuse. Actually, the Bank of Japan raising interest rates is really set the stage for basically liquidity starting to move out of the market. And the names that are most affected by that are the high beta names. And nvidia got caught with a twofer. The DeepSeek information came out during the market hours, and there was very little reaction to it. But over the weekend, as traders started to evaluate their positioning here with Bank of Japan, the DeepSeek thing became an easy thing for people to grab onto. And then it blew up the nuclear market, blew up the crypto market, and it blew up nvidia and basically the whole AI sphere. Now, I'm going to explain what DeepSeek is. I'm going to explain what the Chinese strategy is on this. And I have to say, it was a beautiful, beautiful strategy, even though that I hate pretty much everything to do with the Communist Chinese Party. But the NVIDIA set themselves up. It's their own fault. OpenAI set themselves up. It's their own fault. OpenAI is anything but open. And NVIDIA was charging premium pricing for their chips. Now, if China developed something that was so earth-shattering, Dave, you would never, ever see them releasing the code open source, right? Do you think the NSA in the United States has released open source their DeepSeek program? I don't think so. Okay, so what China did was, they know they can't beat the AI that the U.S. has created in the short term. But what they did do was that, when you're riding down the the street and you want to stop a guy on the bicycle, you put a stick in the tire, right? And you flip the bike. And that's exactly what happened to nvidia. They're charging premium, telling you only my chips the only way you can get an edge or an alpha in the market. And the Chinese said, well, our thing's pretty good. And oh, by the way, we can do it at a deep discount in price. Oh, and here's our code. You can have it for free. We already spent the money on teaching it. Here, it's yours for free. Well, you know what that did? It just basically blew up the market for NVIDIA chips. It blew up the market for some of these crypto miners, and it blew up OpenAI and some of the AI companies, because now there's a competitor out there, and it's called Free. And so that's what we're dealing with now. And so they basically gummed up the works. It's like when Tesla started open sourcing their safety features in their car, right? So, basically it takes the premium out of it when somebody gives stuff away for free. Now, having said that, nobody and their brother believes that China was able to teach this machine on $6 million worth of hardware. Okay. So that's probably going to come out in the future. They probably had NVIDIA chips laying out there, but be that as it may, they already taught the machine. You only need these high-end chips to teach the machine. You don't need high-end chips to run the machine, all right? So people don't understand that. And we have customers of ours that are in that space, and they were explaining that to us today. So that's what's going on today. Now, I think you're going to get a bit of a reverb here. NVIDIA basically was the shot across the bow. It was the Black Friday or the Black Monday or whatever 1929 event was. NVIDIA is starting now the sell-off in the U.S. stock market. And all the tech names, all the premium centers, all going away. On Wednesday, U.S., we have the Fed meeting. Now, the Fed could put a little bit of Band-Aid on these wounds a little bit by lowering interest rates, because the market's not really expecting much. But if they don't lower interest rates at all, it's going to put pressure on the markets, and probably will be selling off on and off throughout the month of February, maybe even into the March options expiration contract. It is absolutely needed. NVIDIA is obnoxiously overvalued. Right now, it's trading at around 118 or so. It was at 140 something last week. Fair value for NVIDIA, bottom of trough, is around 30. We see probably near term, it can go all the way down to 77 for NVIDIA. So there wasn't a market sell-off. It was a market rotation out of these names, and it was an excuse to use the China DeepSeek as an excuse to sell off the markets. So, Bitcoin has been struggling too. Now, Bitcoin's problem is that it requires the economies around the world, the central banks around the world, to create excess liquidity, meaning they got to pump their money supplies up faster than the money can be really used or absorbed efficiently. And they haven't been doing that because they've been playing a little bit of a game with the Trump administration coming in and the tariffs and all that good stuff. So once that breaks loose, probably late spring, you'll probably see Bitcoin pull back and then make another run higher. So that's kind of where we are with everything.
Yeah, and I'll give you an update on the the news over here. So China has had a DDoS attack on DeepSeek. So there's so much traffic coming in there, and it has to be coordinated across multiple nations to be able to do that. So they are now only allowing you using the app to register with the Chinese phone number with a +86 in front of it. Those are the only phone numbers currently that can register into the system, and they're trying to, I guess, dial it back to only Chinese nationals can, or if you have a Chinese mobile phone number, if you're able to register into the system, to maybe try to mitigate some of the damage, because they realize that the earthquake they sent across everywhere. And the markets are all, because it's Chinese New Year here, you have to think about markets are closed all these days, just like our Christmas and New Year would be in the West. So all of this happening here, nobody can move anything. They're locked in position here, just grinding their nails away, waiting to see what can happen, what's going to happen. Now, some markets are open, some are closed, some are partially open, half day, but it's not like open all where everything can move at the same time to try to smooth itself out. So there's going to be a lot more, so smaller afterquakes here as we move forward in this. And China just released its new, what is considered pro version. the same equivalent of OpenAI that charges $200 a month on the enterprise edition for OpenAI. China just released that pro version of DeepSeek. The original DeepSeek was the equivalent of just ChatGPT for regular users at $8 a month. And that was the equivalent of the enterprise edition, also open source. And they let that one run as well. So, that was the second trick. That was the second bunny they pulled out of the hat and let loose on the planet here. And it's so interesting why they would do that during the middle of Lunar New Year. And it would be great for the Chinese stock market. That's great. Everybody got a gift over there. But they wreaked havoc across the rest of Asia, knowing that most of it's closed because of the Lunar New Year. And they did like this perfect, sneaky style anyway. They just wrecked everything across the region here. So we'll see how this plays out. And with the Bitcoin as well, you said things should obviously, more news make things spur forward. So with all the news coming out of the Trump administration, everybody pro crypto and all these new positions, why isn't Bitcoin running more heavy? I understand the liquidity, but you think the news itself would drive it. Just even the average street investor might pop in going, oh, I heard Trump's going to do a national Bitcoin reserve. Oh, Austria is going to do it too. Oh, all these other countries.
Yeah, the news has been out. I mean, Bitcoin went from 65,000 to 109. And that's an incredible move. And so that's already been absorbed. And so now we need new stuff, right? And but we need liquidity. Liquidity is collapsing in the United States. So what liquidity is the money supply against the market capitalization of the stock market. There's just not enough sloshing around money to push the markets higher. Bitcoin requires that excess liquidity to go higher. And that's why it's struggling. And it may fall before it moves up again. So we're in a brave new world. Remember, there's a difference between Main Street and Wall Street. And remember, Trump's a populist. And so he would rather be loved and adored and reelected in 2 years than make sure the Wall Street bankers make a lot of money. And so, he's pro crypto, but now we have to wait and see what that really means. He has to get stuff passed, legislation passed, regulations redone. So now it's a pause, and it'll be a pause that refreshes because, look, none of these economies around the world can survive unless they keep devaluing their currencies. And we're just going to have to wait for that. But in the meantime, always something to trade. And so we've been doing quite well. And, we had people positioned short over the weekend. I mean, we made people 1 or 2 months worth of income in one weekend. You're talking about year of the snake for crypto. It's going to be year of the snake for the stock market. It's going to be really, really, really volatile. And volatility with our system is welcome. It gives us enough market movement to make big money. All bounces are going to be short-lived until the end of March, Dave.
Yeah, so you mentioned liquidity. Like, just walk me through, where would excess liquidity start coming from then with all this market contagion that we see? So when it does, like you say, rebound, hit the bottom, come off, then where would you anticipate liquidity would start flowing from first back into make the Bitcoin or allow the Bitcoin price to rise once again?
There's only two places money supply comes from, right? Bank lending and government borrowing. And so the government will have to start borrowing more to create the liquidity, or people that have their money locked up in money market funds decide to push the money into the stock market. And so none of that's happening right now, but it will happen. It'll The only people with the biggest enough bazooka is the government. So the government needs to have excess liquidity by borrowing money and creating, sector winners and losers by the activity. And so I'm not too hopeful because Trump's all about now just dismantling the federal government, right? So he may spend money here and there, but that's where it is. So it's going to be incumbent upon the banks to open the lending. Lending won't come unless they lower interest rate. So you have to see that first. Now, where it goes, hard to say, but I don't think it's going to flow back into tech. And so I think it's going to flow into the commodities. Look, oil has just been crazy. It just does not want to go down. Trump's been bashing it with a bat, right? And oil is just holding up because people need a place outside of tech for their money, and it's going to also flow into the bond market. So we have trades for that for our people, and we'll just take advantage of it. And then, like I said, like we did going into this weekend, we're just going to take advantage of opportunities that come up and provide those trades for our people and your people too, the ones that join us.
And I'll leave that link below, tradewith2030.com. Check out the rooms there and the different courses and also the algorithms that are available for you to optimize those trades. Watching that green flick to red and red to green, catching those moves in between there. A couple percent here, a couple percent there. It all adds up to more percentages. And that's what it's really all about. Because you mentioned last time when we talked too, and even the last couple of months, that you thought everything was going to flow into commodities. Now we see coffee prices at all-time record high. I mean, all-time record high. I don't think it was so much from the Colombian quote unquote tariff thing, but there was just so many losses anyway. I mean, we got snow along the beaches in the Southeast US. You got more snow in Pensacola, Florida than Juneau, Alaska. And as we get into some of these coffee producing nations, like Guatemala had 40-degree temperatures. They went down into extreme cold warnings. Some of these areas produce coffee. So it's not just the Colombian tariff thing. It's truly weather that in the climate that is starting to affect a lot of our commodity production. So I looked at the markets today. I was really surprised that wheat had gone down on futures contract too. I was like, wheat down, oats down. Shocking for me to see that these are down, even though the amount of yields is decreased as well. So I'm looking at this and said things are just not normal right now, happening all over the place.
Yeah, what's so funny is that what we talked about 8-9 years ago is actually happening. Wait until there's snow in the Caribbean. People don't think it's possible.
We said that exactly, did we not?
Yes, we did. There'll be snow in the Caribbean. We're close. In fact, here's another prediction that you made, and we'll see if it plays out here in the next couple of years. We will actually see a front cross the equator and come back in, which never happens because the trade winds blow it up. People don't understand that. So it's going to be really interesting. But look, knowledge is power, and you're forewarned, you're forearmed, and you make these trades, that work, you're going to make money. And, we think we have pretty good understanding of what's happening. And then we have our algorithms running, and we just upgraded them again, Dave. And these things are scary good. So if you want to trade with us, Saturday, take advantage of the specials that we have running. Make sure that if you don't go through Dave's landing site, if you come to us directly, make sure you tell us you come from Dave so we can support his channel and give you the discount. If not, thank you, full retail. So let us know, and we'll make sure we give you the discount. Like I said, you'll get more out of it than you put into it. And like I said, this weekend people bought 10 contracts for $4,000, and they turned around and added 10,000 to it on Monday. No, not bad living.
Yeah, it's all about peeking around the corner using mathematics that are proven. There's a lot of news. How much really, now let me ask you a question then, based on algorithms and mathematics and movie day averages and things that have already happened that are reoccurring patterns versus what's the percentage that you really think the news drives something to move compared to actual mathematics and precision of numbers?
Yeah, the news actually justifies the move. those guys were jonesing for a sell-off in technology, so they were looking for
They were
the
looking
right
for it, weren't they?
looking for the
Any
right
excuse.
news story. Yeah. So that's how it works. It looks like news to you. And you notice the Trump administration made no comment on it whatsoever. Because there's some interesting things happening. Elon Musk doesn't like OpenAI. Elon Musk doesn't like Sam Altman. Sam Altman doesn't like Trump. But Trump was very cordial in this whole thing too. And then that just blew up. It blew Sam Altman up a little bit. Trump said nothing. If it was his baby, he'd be all over it with the Chinese, right? Look what he did to the Colombian president. He basically said, you'll live in a hovel when I get done with you if you don't acquiesce. So yeah, so I think there's more to this story. The news was just basically it was a t-ball set up for the kids to swing at.
Yeah, and you have to really wonder how much of it's organic and how much of it's planned. Was this a grand
Always,
scheme plan? You look at it like, well, things aren't as
always planned.
transparent, are they?
Yep, always planned. There's no accidents happen. Remember, these guys at Wall Street, they don't let things happen to them. They make things happen. People always say, when will the market change? Well, Wall Street knows because they'll make it change. So that's what you have to watch. That's why you watch Big Money. That's what our algorithm watches, and we're just along for the ride.
Hey, so let me ask you, you being out in California there, hey, your home was safe. It wasn't anywhere. We're able to see smoke, obviously smell it. It got to be in the air there. But these insurance companies, I'm looking at their, hundreds of billions of lacking in funds to actually cover a lot of these claims. They're looking at 600 billion in claims, but everything together is well under 100 billion. So what are you hearing out there in terms of insurance specific like damage that could be done in the same kind of reverberations of an entire industry that just happened here in the AI industry, but in terms of these losses can't be covered? Are they looking at a government bailout or whatever? I've had several people ask me this question.
I don't think it'll be a bailout, but I think what Trump will do is, and which I hope he does. Insurers only have so much money, but then there's reinsurers behind them, okay, and they're going to run out of money. And what Trump is likely to do, or the administration is like, they'll give some money to the homeowners, because it's political, but they may just backstop the reinsurers with loans and let those guys work it out over the next 5 or 10 years. I mean, this is a 100-year event. And so they just need backstop. And I think that's what will happen. But Trump's going to extract changes in the way California does business, because this absolutely was a self-inflicted wound. Orange County, where I live, we had no fires. We had the same winds, okay? And so, we clear out our homeless and we cut back our brush. In fact, the neighborhood I live in a canyon, and we got our safe fire certificate because everything's cleaned up, everything's green, everything's watered. We run irrigation lines into the trees where I live to keep everything wet. And it just boggles the mind that LA had no interest in doing that. And so now they're called on it. So you'll see the federal government step in there and just overstep Newsom. One thing that we did learn, though, about this, people are interested, is that homes that did not burn, that were in the path of the fire, basically had steel roofs, and they had actually they ran their irrigation lines up into the eaves, and so they just turned them on, and they ran out of water in a lot of places, but people tied them to their swimming pools, and basically used the pumps in their swimming pool. One guy did that. He saved the 14 homes right down the block from him. So I think you'll see change in code where the roofs are going to have steel, or at least steel under tile. The eaves have to be fireproof, and they're going to run irrigation lines or sprinklers up into the roofs. And we should not ever see a fire like this ever again, because we know it worked, because this was 100-mile-an-hour winds, and homes in the middle of it did not burn because the embers were not allowed to settle into the structure. And so I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to be 3 to 5 years, but they're scared witless here of Trump. Trump will come out here every month if he has to embarrass them, And I think that's what's going to happen.
But you think ultimately there will be enough money covered for that, and there won't be?
It's going to be a problem. Look, California and Florida both they both had their black swan moments in terms of insurance. Our problem is insurance fire insurance is too inexpensive here for the risk that the insurers are taking. So hopefully they fix the risk. I'm not technically in a fire zone. A mile from me, either way, are in fire zones. I don't butt up against a dry canyon. I butt up against a maintained canyon, if that makes sense. Everything's green and watered. But on the other side of me, it's basically it's a habitat. And over that way, where I'm pointing this way is that top of the hill coming up the interstate, it's all dry until you get to the neighborhoods. But I'm a mile from that too. So I'm not technically in a fire zone, so I don't worry about it too much. But I will tell you something interesting. Saddleback Mountain, which is about a 6,600-foot mountain, about 14 miles from me, it looks like an ice cream cone today. So after the rains we got, it's all snow on top. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, the reason I was digging into the fires because I didn't know if this would also be a black swan event that would be an excuse for collapsing market, contracting something because suddenly there's not enough money for California. So
Oh,
I was just going down that road. Could be
yeah,
that
yeah.
used as an excuse, like there's 200 billion that won't be reinsured, they won't be paid out. Oh, this is a calamity, and then that also starts a cascade because they're itching at the bit to get some sort of market correction shoved down the throat
Oh,
here of the world. And I'm wondering if that
oh
would
yeah,
be
yeah.
just a catalyst.
I think that's a 6-9 month a year event because they're not writing checks yet because they're still digging the debris out. They're not going to hand homeowners checks here before they're ready to build homes. And you got to understand, there's 15,000 homes. There's not enough. There's not enough people to evaluate the blueprints. It takes about 3 to 4 months to get a plan approved for a home here in California. Now multiply it by 15,000. In the city of LA, there's probably maybe 20 planners, and now you have like 11,000 homes. Altadena, there's probably 2 city planners, and people plan checkers or whatever, and there's 7,000 homes. So, people are gonna have to come in, and then there's not enough contractors here, and so a lot of things have to happen, but that money is going to come out in dribs and drabs over the next 3 to 5 years. It'll give the governments time to figure it out. And I think with Trump looking over them, overlording them, then I think it'll be better than it would have been if it was under Biden administration.
But I'll
Yeah.
leave it there. Trade2030.com. I was going to ask another question, but I forgot what it was, Bob.
Yeah. Just, hey, guys, check us out. I'm telling you, check out our track record. I don't like to brag, but I'm going to brag. We do a pretty good job, and we don't charge a lot for the service. Those guys that made 10,000 are sending me these notes. That's 20 years of the cost of the service. Okay, so I'm not one of those guys that charges a fortune and deliver a little. I charge little and deliver a fortune. So come check us out and enjoy the service. You're going to be with like-minded people in the room. We're self-selected, obviously. And so it's a safe place for you really to meet some really good people. And I think Dave and I are going to also do some training, some paid training for some people coming up in February so that you can understand how our system works and how it can benefit you. So, but take advantage of the special we have running to Saturday. I think you'll really like it.
I'll leave that link in the description box below, tradewell2030.com. Appreciate your time. And remember, Year of the Snake is full of twists and turns. But again, opportunity and volatility. If it was always the same price, there'd be no chance. So appreciate your time, Bob, and see you next time. Bye for now.
That's very dirty.